All right, Astro fam, I think I'm doing it. I'm going to go ahead and share this link. Thank you all for being patient with me. This is my first YouTube live, and I'm still figuring out the background of it, but I want to make sure you all can join. So I'm sharing this now on the Instagram. What should I title it? YouTube. Oh no, Leo new moon update. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, wow. So I am so excited to share with you all some insights about what is going on during this Leo new moon. And I also want to keep this a little bit more personal as well, because I'm also living here on this planet during these transitions that come with the cycles of time and just being a human, right? The human experience. And I feel like this current Leo new moon is really an example of how change comes about in a gradual process of discovery. So why do I say that? The biggest thing about this Leo new moon that is standing out to me is its unique conversation it's making with Uranus. And it is actually making a square with Uranus. You know what? I'm going to share my screen with you all just so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. This is what I do with my monthly clients, actually, is I get into the nitty gritty and I circle things so I can explain things very clearly. So what's a square? This is the chart for the Leo new moon, by the way. August 16th. If you're in Central Time, it was very early this morning at 4:37. If you're one of my Arizona peeps, it had to have been, what, plus 2 hours, 6:37 a.m. there when it was exact. But this energy has a way of showing up over a gradual time, especially with a fixed sign like Leo. And by fixed, this is the modality that the intelligence of Leo comes about. It comes about in a very slow and steady and consistent rate. So just like the intelligence, we will also potentially experience this new moon in a very slow and steady and consistent rate. So here is the new moon. Whenever we look at a chart, whether it's our personal chart or a transit chart, this is a transit chart, a new moon is represented by the sun, that's the circle with the dot, and the moon being right next to each other. That is an indicator of a new moon. And this is the exact new moon because they are both at 23 degrees of that Leo intelligence. And this is for the nerdy astrologers. So if this is above and beyond what you were looking for during my live, do not worry about it. I still have the Astro-tea. But I think this is good to see for you all to understand how I come about my process of sharing these updates. They're not just made up. They're definitely calculated and analyzed as well. So this unique conversation that the sun in Leo and the moon in Leo, therefore the new moon in Leo, is having with this planet right here. That planet is Uranus. And that's the symbol for Uranus. Again, you don't have to know this, but I do want you to pay attention. Actually, I'm going to use an even brighter color because that's a little dark. To this 23 right here. And 23 is the exact frame of mind, let's call it that we are working on collectively with the Taurus intelligence. The new moon is at 23 of the Leo intelligence. So this tells me that these are having a direct conversation. And it happens to be a squaring conversation. So what does that look like? What is all of this talk, this astrologer lingo meaning to you? How can this benefit you and be of service to you in this now moment? And I would say to acknowledge with yourself that life is a constant wheel of change, that nothing stays the same for long, even if we want it to stay the same. And even the moments that we're really ready to get out of and ready to like let that chapter of life, let that frame of reference, the images you see, the things you're around, the jobs you're in, the relationships you're in, anything that's happening in your life that you're ready to come to a close, that too will change. So change has two agendas, not only to introduce us to new things, but also to relieve us of these things as well. So this new moon is having a direct conversation with change. And this change, I believe, has a lot to do with something that we have felt coming for a long time, that we've been inviting in potentially into our lives. And it's really showing us how we can adjust to those desires and how we can adjust what we are loyal to. So if there is a certain aspect of your life that maybe you had envisioned to come about around this time, maybe it's very much there, and maybe aspects of it is already present and being introduced as a very new narrative. And there's aspects of that vision that are being, boom, surprise, not what we expected. New information coming up beneath the surface of what we potentially originally projected out to be the future, which is actually the present. Really, I believe this is about being in integrity with those changes by being flexible and adjusting as the picture unfolds. A good example of this, I would say, is like cooking, right? We have a recipe down for whatever soup, let's keep it simple, that is desired. And as the soup is being made, that's better. I'm trying to figure out how to stay looking at the screen properly. I'm so used to my phone. However, as the soup is being made, perhaps we needed to add a different sort of ingredient that we didn't think of before we set up the kitchen to cook. So this is another way of looking at life. Maybe we've seen a result that we want to have. Maybe you've seen a result that you want to have. I've definitely seen a result that I want to have, and had to adjust in the process of pursuing that result. So there is a big call to accept the changes that are present right now and to anticipate the surprises, to be not to discourage you, but to help you learn a lot more about what's truly important, what you're truly in integrity with. And this is also such a fascinating aspect here because Leo energy is in the mix. And Leo, oh my gosh, it is all about being surrounded by the joy of life and enthusiasm and enriching others, showing its passion and really its positivity around the heart's desires. So this isn't the mental desires. This is something that truly exudes from your core when you talk about it, when you think about it. Every aspect of your being, all of the fibers in your body begin to resonate. Leo is ignited by that feeling, and it enjoys recognizing that feeling in others. That's the intelligence of Leo. It is truly the rays of sun. The sun is the planetary energy that it aligns with. So seeing changes or experiencing plot twists around our heart's desires at times can have the adverse effect of potentially making us feel foggy or unclear or disappointed. I'm seeing more of a foggy and unclear sort of narrative coming up. And the reason why I say that is because Venus, which is a planetary energy that definitely helps us further refine and define what we value, what brings our heart joy, has moved behind the sun. This is when she becomes the morning star. And outside of astrologer lingo, this is just an indicator for you to be present with yourself and to feel into what your heart desire is a little bit more without the need to project it out into the world quite yet. And I know that's hard to hear during a Leo season energy. And by all means, if you feel ready to project that grand vision even further into the world, do it. But there's something about a strategic letting go of certain aspects of that vision to actually bring about what's truly going to bring happiness. So Venus is kind of going back and allowing us an opportunity to even further get clear on our heart's desires. And this can show up a lot in relationships as well, and the mirrors that relationships bring up for us to reflect on where our heart actually is and where it could use further attention and loving and development. All of these things are connected. Your passion is very much connected to the people that you surround yourself with, the people that you relate with. That's just my opinion. So yeah, this is a very powerful new moon, but it's also a very reflective new moon. And we're seeing results for this new vision in life constantly as we act on the things we desire, eventually cause and effect. The results of what those actions bring about will manifest. And we are in a harvest season, the fall season right around the corner here, finishing up summer. So just as the earth changes into this mentality of reaping all that we sow, of seeing the results of all the things we said and put into action and rolled into motion, being present here, there's also an energy of looking at all of the results, looking at the grand feast that we might have prepared for ourselves up into this point of life, and asking ourselves one more time, does this feel right? And the mind and the feeling nature are very connected. And sometimes our mind might take the center seat a little bit more. And you know what? I'm going to bring up something else on this chart here about the mind, because we have some Virgo energy interacting with this new moon. And let's see, I'll pull up my screen here. Thank you all for playing with me. This is my first time doing this. I keep saying it. And personally, my Venus is pulling back and being like, oh my gosh, does this feel right? Like, this is a different platform, but I am having a lot of fun with this. So, but when I say Virgo energy, oh, even Mercury, let's, keep that in the mix here. So whenever two planets are next to each other, very similar to the new moon, right? They become one superpower. So the sun and the moon together create the new moon, which we often associate as a singular event. Likewise, we have Mars, which is this red symbol here, and Mercury, which is this yellow symbol here. That's the planetary energies that are present in the mix of this new moon, in a direct conversation again with Uranus. So absolutely. Geez, these lines. If anyone has any cool programs for drawing on the screen, let me know, because I'm curious. However, with this Taurus energy, this Uranus energy that's meant to spark us and awaken us, but also change the wheel, change the momentum, introduce a new element into the flow that maybe we just could not have seen coming. The more surprising it is, the more of a pivot it is, the more effective Uranus is being in helping us see the bigger picture. It's having a direct conversation with Mars and Mercury, but let's just focus on Mars here at 22 degrees of Virgo. That's the symbol for the Virgo intelligence. 23, 22. I typically see conversations happening within 5 degrees of the planets and their aspects they're making. So this is a little different than the conversation it was having. I'm all over with the colors with the new moon, because the new moon here was making a square, a 90-degree sort of angle. So squaring is a little bit more of a confrontation, a little bit more of a crossroad energy. This is making a trine, which a trine is a leg of a triangle. It's a 30-degree angle. So a trine only happens when different planetary intelligences and energies are in the same zodiac intelligence. Let me rephrase that. The same element of a zodiac intelligence. So Taurus and Virgo are both in an earth-based intelligence. So this is about getting real, getting practical, right? All the astrologers are talking about the Virgo energy being about getting stuff done. And I've reflected on how this conversation is coming about. FYI, a trine energy is very supportive. It doesn't necessarily go against the grain. It actually amplifies and boosts whatever that narrative is. So not only is Uranus making a point of pay attention with the new moon, pay attention to this plot twist, pay attention to this new insight that you might be having about what you're ready to stabilize and materialize into your life. Maybe this vision is getting a little bit of a adjustment for your life and your relationships, jobs, all those things that are part of the human experience. But it's also being amplified by Mars and Virgo. So Mars has a lot to do with action. It's very much related to the Aries energy. Aries is our north node at the moment. It's the trajectory that we are collectively learning to better master in its expression of initiative, of pioneering into new terrains, new territories of life, and really being brave and bold in the face of uncertainty, in the face of not knowing, just going out there and doing it. So we have this aspect of Mars, of this pioneering energy, of this action-oriented energy, but it's in an earth sign that is very deliberate and calculating as to what it does. So what I'm seeing this is support for letting go of things that maybe we were attached to in this process that isn't actually aligning with the plot twist that is being presented to us. And don't get me wrong, this plot twist, even though in the moment it might seem a bit challenging, it is here to help us really get even more of a clear HD version of this life we are materializing. Sometimes we just can't see the full picture until another element is introduced. Even if we think we've seen it, even if we think we know, there's always change. There's always, and sometimes a change can be significant, but there's always an aspect of a certain layer of life or perspective being released, so a new layer of life and perspective can be introduced. And I believe this new moon is doing that. So I will keep this first one brief because I have no idea how this looks. But I also want to keep it fun. It's a Leo new moon, and the energies can feel a bit chaotic. And the reason why I say that is because the change element being brought into the picture, a lot of us are probably really ready to see the results of what we feel like is ours. And how can I explain this? It's like we are adjusting to what we are loyal to, what we want to be in integrity with in our expression, in our day-to-day tasks, in our communities, our relationships. And also we are calling in more of what we belong to, what belongs to us. And also things that might have felt delayed or things that we have had in motion for a while, being brought up to the surface finally, after being in a bit of a stalemate for a while. So yeah, there is a lot of abundance in taking this moment to check in with yourself. I mean, and by check in with yourself, I mean, don't rely on what I have to say to get clarity on this new moon. And I know it's very counterintuitive because I'm saying new moon update, but I do think this Venus positioning just recently behind the sun is a very personal energy. And really, we're all unique in this process of creating the life that we desire. And every single unique and beautiful or uncertain and floating spacey vision that we have for our lives, they're on their own timeline. They're on their own wheel of fortune. And really, the only person who could encourage and praise and uplift and celebrate in the Leo intelligence fashion your evolution, your growth, your realizations, your strategic restructuring and decision making for your gain at the end of the day and for all. If it's for all, then it's definitely for you. There's a layer of mutual benefit that has a different taste of abundance. Anyways, be sure to adjust fairly with yourself. Give yourself that space to hear and receive and adjust accordingly. And don't over externalize the answers, because this is your creation, this life of yours. It's not mine. It's not anyone else online, on social media. It's uniquely yours to celebrate that and take time with yourself. All right, so I feel like I am repeating, but thank you for watching my first live. Oh my gosh. I just moved. I moved to Texas. So I will eventually get this background all pretty for you all. And I'm adjusting to a lot of things, but I'm always here to talk astro, especially on the new moons and full moons. So go ahead and click on the link in my YouTube bio to explore more. If you want to go deeper with me one-on-one, that's my favorite way to do it. And there is a link on my link tree to get on my schedule to get that process started. Happy Leo new moon, you all.